5:30. So.
I usually start early around 5:52 or 5:50, I should say. What did I do with my? There we go. There we go. We'll just wait for everybody to get going here. Let's see.
What's Twitter bumping up about?
Trump just got shot.
Oh. Did they kill him?
But no, they winged him in the ear.
Oh.
He was doing one of his rallies, and you heard pop, 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 and he grabbed his ear, and the Secret Service were all over him. And they picked him up, and he had blood all over the side of his face, and he was like, "Arr!" And then they carried him off stage. Like, it's going to take more than a bullet to stop me. It literally just happened.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, get ready for that to be all the questions on your stream.
Yep. Most likely.
Thoughts on Trump getting shot?
I mean, no one's asking questions yet. No one's even logged in yet. I got like one viewer, and they're not asking anything. So it may be that everyone is too distracted by what just occurred to log into the stream.
Maybe.
Which is funny, but,
Well, I'm going to work on the game a bit. I'll have to chat him.
Okay. Hi, Ultra Steel. You know what's weird? Nobody is signing in. Nobody is signing into the stream. And what's even weirder is when I go onto my YouTube app, it acts as though I'm not streaming there either, because I go in there to try to link it, and it doesn't show me as live. I can't even go to my own channel and see myself, which is very strange. Very strange.
It acts as though I'm...
There we go. There we go. This weird piece of crap app. I tell you. There we go. Oh, come on. Stupid piece of crap. All right. Hi, enemy. I don't know. It may just be that everybody's distracted by what just literally happened a minute ago. That might be the deal. Everyone might just be distracted by the bit of news that literally just occurred right as I was going live. What are the odds? Right as I am going live, somebody tries to Dealey Plaza Trump. Unbelievable. Things are getting weird out there, folks. Things are getting weird. Things are getting weird. It took several shots, too. Took several shots. You heard what sounded like AR-15 fire. Pop, 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 pop. Trump grabs his ear and drops to the floor. A bunch of Secret Service jump on top of him. When he comes up off the ground, he's got blood dripping off of his ear and onto the side of his face, and he defiantly holds his fist up in the air like, they're not going to kill me, and then they drag him off stage and he's gone. Right. What can you do? You want to have a stream with your fans, have a good show, and then somebody ruins it with an attempted presidential assassination. I tell you. What's a guy to do? What's a streamer who doesn't actually stream gameplay, so all he has is his compelling commentary about games to do? I can't compete with someone trying to off him. I can't compete with that. Oh, my ear itches. Anyway, that's what's going on in the world. So I'm probably not going to have more than 5 viewers all night tonight. Thanks, idiot with a gun who tried to take matters into their own hands like a moron. Thanks for that. Thanks for ruining my show. I tell you. You plan all day to put on an entertaining show, to talk about topics that you guys would like to talk about, and somebody has to go and shoot the top of Trump's ear off. I mean, there's no topping that. There's no competing with that. I can't. Why am I even still streaming? I should just turn it off and let everybody go watch the news. What am I supposed to do now? Because it's political discussion. I don't really do political commentary. You guys know this. So what am I supposed to conjure up out of my butthole that's going to trump an attempted assassination on one of the most hated men in America? And simultaneously, one of the most loved men in America. What am I supposed to... How do I top that? I can't. This stuff is crazy. And I'll tell you something like this. I would have my doubts that it was a Democrat that did this. Because, the modern Democrat kind of lacks the balls to do such a thing. I think this might be retaliation for him saying that he didn't want anything to do with this Project 2025 nonsense. Well, it would not surprise me if it was a far righty that took these shots. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I haven't listened to all of Eminem's new album. I've only heard like one or two songs off of it so far. Anyway, it's Saturday. It's 6 o'clock, July 13th, 2024, and this was supposed to be the 7thCast. As always, I'm your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th is up in his room doing 8th things. One of his 3 rooms up there somewhere. Technically 4 rooms. Also on top of someone trying to Dealey Plaza Trump, Richard Simmons died. I knew Shelley Duvall died. That means a third will go. They always die in threes. You got Shelley Duvall, Richard Simmons. Who's the third going to be? Who's the third going to be? 8th is in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, 8th is in the chat. And we only have 7 viewers because everybody is most assuredly hung tight to CNN, and Fox News and MSNBC, watching all the footage of Trump getting the top of his ear clipped off. And so no one will come to watch the 7th cast. Nobody! Except for Enemy and Stevie Boy and Ultra Steel. Those are the only 3 that are going to show up to ask me any questions tonight. Shifty Shell Shock died. That guy from Crazy Town. He's not popular enough to be a real celebrity. I'm talking real celebrity. You know, Richard Simmons, Shelley Duvall. If Jack Nicholson died right now, you know, that would be a third celebrity. That would be the trio. Not Shifty. Didn't even know who he was till he was dead. It just goes to show you guys, you know, best laid plans. The second you go live, dashed upon the rocks. What am I going to talk about now? All anyone is going to want to talk about is who blew Trump's ear off. I'm screwed. I'm screwed for the whole evening. Hey, 7th, I made a video that got 25,000 views. It's a small documentary about a rap beef that's kind of funny. I don't really get into the whole rap beef thing with the diss tracks and all that stuff. I mean, I'm glad you got 25,000 views. That's cool. I haven't gotten 25,000 views on a video in forever. Oh, man. Man, oh man, oh man. Anyway, this is a 3-hour stream. This will end at 9 p.m. Central Time. Donations are not required, but they are appreciated for all of my hard work that I occasionally do once a weekend. I intend to do more, but things don't always work out that way. I mean, I got this in the mail. Finally. I've only been able to play it an hour because things come up, man. Things come up. There's always something going on. There's always something sticking a monkey wrench in my plans. It just irritates me. It just irritates me. You know, I had some cool stuff that I found, and I was going to talk about some of it. I was going through some of my collection, and, I found this cool poster that came with the Sega Genesis version of the X-Men. And I found a whole bunch of stuff like this in some of my box complete Genesis games, and I was going to show some of that off and everything, but here we are. Presidential candidate gets the top of his ear clipped off. Now I'm not going to get my usual 35 people that show up. Do you think Microsoft are getting out of the console business? It kind of seems that way. I mean, I know they've said that they're working on their next console, but I have my doubts as to whether it will actually qualify as far as what we consider today to be a console. I think it's going to be more like a streaming box, like a set-top box. We'll see. We'll see. 7th, how would you summarize the Boogie situation? And did he turn out to be a liar about his cancer in the end? I don't really know. I have spent time, I've hung out with Boogie several times at the Retropalooza convention. His cancer is not something that has ever come up in discussion with me. So I don't know. I haven't, I'm not privy to his medical documents. I mean, it seems rather suspicious, but I don't know. I don't know. He claims that he has proof of it on his phone. He just refuses to show it to anybody. I doubt I'm pretty sure he wouldn't even show it to me if I tried to message him and ask him. But right now he shut down his Twitter account. You can't even message him anyway. So, yeah. I don't really know right now, Ultra Steel. I don't have an answer for that one. From Enemy TV, my wife's grandmother is rich and bought us plane tickets and cruise tickets to Europe. She's about to die in a few years, and she wanted us to push her around in a wheelchair so she can see it. I'm excited. No offense, man, but I wouldn't be too excited about that deal. I've been in a position of having to, push a sick person around in a wheelchair. It's not fun. It would be better to get her a motorized rechargeable scooter. Let her drive herself around, No, we didn't do anything for the 4th of July. Because, one, we didn't have the money to be spending for 4th of July. And two, Texas, in my opinion, is not a great place to set off fireworks because so much of it is prone to wildfires. Not necessarily the exact region that we're in here, but there has been a wildfire in this general area before. And so I myself would prefer not to set off fireworks anywhere near this house or neighborhood. That didn't stop some of our neighbors from setting off fireworks, but we were not one of them. Wouldn't have had the money to buy them if we wanted to. Yeah, 8th has gotten a lot more into retro than he used to be recently, now that he has kind of his own game room and he has his own Dreamcast and he's got that fat PS2 up there that can play PS1 and PS2 games. He's started to get more into the retro than he used to be. Used to, retro was more my thing, but he's really starting to get into it, which is good. Broaden his horizons. Just because a game is old doesn't mean it isn't great. Obviously, there is some stuff that didn't age well, like a lot of the games on N64 and some of the games on Dreamcast that were 3D but only had one analog stick. Those obviously didn't age well, but there's a lot of stuff that's, the graphics are old, but the gameplay is just as good as it ever was. PS1 is your favorite console? PS1 was a good console. I do wish I had a larger library than I do. I think I've only got maybe 65 games for it. I'd like to have a much larger PS1 library, but right now I just can't afford to be buying up PS1 games. I'm still trying to get everything here the way we need it. We still don't have enough shelf space. I've got shelves that I need to get. 8th doesn't have anywhere to sit upstairs, so he's having to use the table that we had designated to be his tabletop role-playing table, and the chairs for that, because he doesn't have his own couch upstairs yet. So, there's still a lot of things that we have to pick up before, everything is the way we need it to be, and certainly before it's show-ready enough for us to do a new tour video. I don't know when that's going to be. I would be talking more right now, everybody, but people are asking 8th more questions in the chat than they're asking me. So I'm just sitting here watching 8th answer questions. Ten whole viewers. Wow. 10 whole viewers. You see? Somebody attempts to, Dealey Plaza, a presidential candidate, and my audience goes in the toilet because everyone's glued to the news. Boy, howdy. I have the worst luck. Third celebrity who passed is Dr. Ruth. I thought she died years ago. I thought Dr. Ruth died years ago. Shows what I know. Oh, anyway, me and 8th went to see LongLegs today. And it's different. I don't think it's this horror masterpiece that so many of the reviewers have been throwing it up to be. I mean, if you're into that A24 style of horror, you'll love it. But if you're going into it expecting it to be the next Silence of the Lambs or the next Insidious or the next Exorcist, that's not what it is. It's kind of a A24 style amalgamation of a serial killer movie and a satanic horror movie mixed into one. And because of the fact that it's trying to do both things at the same time, it doesn't end up being a masterpiece in either category. It's just good. It's enjoyable to watch. It's got an interesting story. The acting is fine. But it just doesn't hit that masterpiece level for me. Me and 8th both enjoyed it, but you know, it's not the next coming of the great high class horror film. That's not what it is. Have I tried horror in VR? No. No, I have not. I've tried horror in VR because 8th's the only one in the house that gets to play VR. Seventh, if it's any consolation, I'd watch the 7th update any day over mainstream news. Yeah, but nobody else watched it, Ultra Steel. That's why I stopped doing it. Because it got crap for views. You guys wouldn't watch it. What's a celebrity that you thought passed away but was actually still alive? I don't know, because I don't really pay that much attention to it. I mean, I thought Dr. Ruth was already dead. I mean, she looked like she was 100 years old back when she was on TV. How has my week been? Busy. I was having to do a lot of work. A lot of work I normally don't have to do because I was covering for somebody else. Somebody else who had a new addition to the family and decided they were going to take 6 months of paternity leave because where they live you can do that sort of thing. Remember, I work for an international company. And so I'm having to cover for them for 6 months. And so I had a lot of work that I'm not normally responsible for that I had to do this week. And I'm kind of wore out. I still haven't finished. And, I won't be finished for 6 months till he comes back. It is what it is. I'm salaried. I'm not hourly. So whatever they toss at me, I have to do it with a grin and a smile. Good God, 7th. Video editing is so tedious. How do you not lose your independence while editing your vids? Lose my independence? I just, I would crank my videos out like an assembly line. I developed a system and a style that I had all my stuff laid out the way I wanted it, and I could just drop the clips in and fit, chop it up, rearrange it, and I was fairly good at it. Now, if I try to do too much of it at one time, like I did with the Trey for Life documentary series, then I get kind of exhausted and burnt out. But Yeah. Have you seen Osgood Perkins' prior films before Longlegs? I rather enjoyed The Black Coat's Daughter. I have not seen The Black Coat's Daughter. No. Before Oz became a director, he was a child actor. He was in like this. I remember he was in some piece of crap movie about a dog. I can't remember the name of the movie, but yeah, he's in like he was in kids movies for a little bit, and then as he grew up, now he's a director. Has your quitting vaping improved your life? Not really, no. Not really. My sinuses are messed up more of the time. I get earaches more often than I used to. And I've had the first week that I was off of it, I kept getting vertigo. I'd get dizzy, almost like I'd been drinking alcohol. That was rough. It only lasted a few days, but it wasn't fun. And oddly enough, I'm more thirsty now than I was when I was vaping. I'm constantly drinking tea and water all the time. Hey, 7th, I like how you trolled people on X because they got triggered over your issue with the word ick. This world, I tell you, do you feel words like Riz also sound... I don't even know what the hell that is. You know, people make up dumbass slang. Each generation makes up their own slang, of course, but it seems like this generation is getting especially dumb with it. Yeah, I can't talk to a grown-ass man who says, oh, that gave me the ick. Can't do it. Can't do it. Because that's when you've gotten to the point where the slang that you're creating has become just a vocal expression of the sound of the emotion it references to. They say, that gave me the ick because that's the sound you make when you dry heave before you vomit. Ick! 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 When that's the epitome of your creativity when coming up with new vernacular, you've lost the plot. You're done. Stick a fork in you. Your generation is toast. No, I haven't tried Pal World. I don't play, Pokemon type stuff. I'm not into that. I don't play the Digimon games either. You guys got to remember, I was already an adult when Pokemon came along. It did nothing for me. It still does nothing for me. Alex is upstairs with 8th. She's not down here with me when camera. We don't let her have the run of the house. She's either upstairs with him or she's downstairs with me. Because we had a dog years ago who we used to let have free run of the house. And one day he was running down the stairs and he tripped over his own feet and he fell down the stairs and permanently injured his back. And so he had to be on pain medication for the rest of his life. And eventually it crippled him and we had to have him put down. So we do not allow her to run up and down the stairs. If she wants to be with 8th, then she's up there with 8th until he brings her back down. If she's down here with me, she stays with me. She doesn't run up and down the stairs. Seventh, how can Nintendo improve their NES, SNES online feature? I wouldn't know because I don't use it. If I want to play an NES or SNES game, I play it on this. I play it on the Polymega. Or I hook up the NES on the retro TV back there and play it on there. I don't play retro games on the Switch. I barely touch my Switch. My Switch has been sitting in its case for months. Because I just have the Switch Lite. 8th is the one with the actual, docked switches upstairs. I just have a Switch Lite. Because to me it's a handheld. I was never going to play it on the TV anyway, so I just got the handheld only version. Just curious, if you sold your whole collection, how much would it be? About $72,000 if I got book value, which I wouldn't get. But if I was able to get the whole thing for book value, not including my pinball machine or either of our arcade cabinets, it'd be about $72,000. No, I have not played Assassin's Creed Mirage. 7th, is finding parking at Retropalooza difficult? Well, it never was difficult for me. Even when you're on staff, you still have to pay for parking there. So that kind of sucks, and it's like $15 a day. So, keep that in mind. But no, I never had a problem finding a parking spot. What was your last racing game? I don't get into racing games. I haven't gotten into a racing game since Burnout Paradise. They're just, after I platted Burnout Paradise, nothing else has compared to me. The closest I've gotten to getting into one was Forza Horizon 5. And even then, it didn't click with me the way Burnout Paradise did. And so it didn't feel as good. The control didn't feel as good. It wasn't as fun. And so I didn't get into it as much as Burnout Paradise. Hi, Juggernauts. I'm doing just fine. Thank you. Thank you. Played any games this week? I played about an hour of this. That's all I've gotten to play this week. I lead a busy life, lads. Busy life. You'd think it wouldn't be that bad working from home, but it can get bad. It can get bad. Wow, 13 viewers. 13 whole viewers. That's just sad. That's just sad. That depresses me. Yeah, everyone would rather watch about Trump's ear than watch good old 7th hold up old advertisement posters for Sega Genesis games. That this was printed before most of you were born. Look at this. I got another one here. Hold on. Look at this one. And I got that one beam of sunlight coming right in through the window. That is annoying. Come on now. Look here. Muhammad Ali says, knock you out. Sega Genesis. On the back. I don't even have Muhammad Ali boxing, so I don't know how I got this poster. But I've got it. Coming soon, Cybercop, Chuck Rock, Out of This World. Oh, Out of This World coming soon. Look at that. Once again, this was printed before a lot of you were born. Seventh is old, guys. 7th is real old. Let's see. No, I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 with 8th because he's on PC and I'm on PS5. I haven't had any problems with the heat, Ultra Steel, and I live in Texas, but that's because the air conditioner is working. When the air conditioner wasn't working, I wasn't feeling too good. Well, there goes my tea 30 minutes into the show. Lord. Hello, 7th, and no, I'm perfectly fine spending time here rather than about him, even if I heard about what happened. Yeah. That's a nice poster. Did you own a lot of old gaming posters or issues from Nintendo Power? No, these come packaged in they came with Sega Genesis games in the box. And so I was going through my box complete Genesis games the other day, and I found some of these in there. Didn't realize they were still in there. What's a good strategy RPG? Yeah, but James is actually popular Dark Star, unlike myself. Do you remember the first ever video game you played? Mine was Super Mario Brothers with the top loader NES. Mine was Pong. My first video game was Pong. What's a good strategy RPG? Final Fantasy Tactics, Shining Force 1, 2, or 3, John Dark or John d'Arc, however you want to pronounce it. There's a lot of good ones out there. I don't drink soda, not regularly. I might have one glass here and there, but you know, I limit myself on that because this new zero sugar stuff. I have found that if I drink it too much on a regular basis, I get kidney stones. So I stop drinking it regularly. And I don't drink regular soda at all, as far as soda with actual sugar in it. Make sure you guys are getting your salt, beef jerky, ham, etc. So that way you're hydrated well. Water alone won't be in. Well, salt dehydrates you, Ultra Steel. I don't know. I don't know what you're going at there. You're not supposed to eat a lot of salty food because it dehydrates you. Yo, hi Nick Neal. Did you play Baldur's Gate 3 for about an hour? Yes. What character? Half elf rogue. So yeah, LongLegs was good. We had a good time, but horror masterpiece it is not. In fact, I don't think it was even as creepy as Hereditary was. There were things that happened in Hereditary that I thought were a lot creepier than what happened in LongLegs. It had some cool ideas, some cool imagery, but there was no point in its hour and 45-minute runtime where I was like, oh, that just sends chills down my spine. No, never. Nothing in it. Not a thing. Yes, Sony is going to be releasing Jean d'Arc or Jean d'Arc, however you want to pronounce it, on PS5 via the network. So if you have PS Plus that include the version that includes the backwards compatibility, you'll just have it available to play, or you can purchase it and play it as a digital game. It was one of the best games on the PSP, so I do recommend it. What's your thoughts on games this generation so far? I haven't been overly impressed. There hasn't really been a whole lot that's just reached out and grabbed me, got its hooks in me. It wasn't that the game was boring me, Raymond. I just didn't have time to devote a whole lot to it. I've been busy. I got off the ship. I found one of my fallen compatriots, picked her up off the ground, and that was about where I stopped because I just didn't have a whole lot of time to play. I haven't had a whole lot of time to play anything. I haven't had a whole lot of time to watch much of anything either. There's a lot of movies that are available digitally now that I haven't watched. I did get to watch the new Godzilla Kong movie, but I haven't gotten to see Fall Guy or any of the other new stuff. I've just been too busy. Way too busy. Work is really, really demanding a lot of me lately. And I mean, I understand it, you know. I had to, I had to call in a few favors at work to be able to purchase this house because I didn't have any kind of down payment saved up or anything. So I had to withdraw funds from my 401k for a down payment on this house, which, once you're fully invested, it will allow you to do a certain percentage of your 401k for just such an occurrence. And the funny thing is that I just found out this month that everything that I borrowed, or not borrowed, everything I withdrew from the 401k to pay the down payment on this house, half of it was replenished by a 401k profit sharing program the company does, where they give you a percentage of their profits for the year as a contribution to your 401k. So that replaced half of it, and then the market value of the stock that my 401k is backed by went up by $7,800, and that replaced the other chunk. And so now my 401k is right back where it was before I took the money out of it. So that was kind of funny. Did I see Axel Foley? Yes, I saw Axel Foley. I liked it. Wasn't great, but it was better than the third one. Last anime that you watched? I think the last anime I watched was one episode of Darling in the Franxx, because I was just looking for some kind of a mech show or super robot show to watch. And I remembered people talking about that show before, so I gave it a shot and watched one episode of it. Thoughts on the Disgaea games? They're okay. When it comes to the Japanese style of Japanese strategy RPGs, Shining Force and Tactics Ogre and Cardia and all those other games that are out there like that. It fits right up there with them, but I think they can get a little bit overboard with stats and the things that you can level and whatnot. It can get pretty in-depth with the Disgaea games, to say the least. Favorite 3D Sonic game? Sonic Adventure 2. Why am I so thirsty? Man. I'm very thirsty today. Very thirsty. Everybody's very distracted today. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why. What could have happened today where people's minds would be so preoccupied that we've only got 17 viewers and people have run out of things to ask me about a mere 35 minutes into the show? Not to mention there's been no donations whatsoever. I'm kidding. Greatest soundtrack of all time you've ever heard in a video game? Probably my favorite is Uncharted 3. It'd probably be a tie between Uncharted 3 and Mega Man 2. Those are my two favorite video game soundtracks. Have you ever panicked playing a game? There's been a couple of times where I was playing like a first-person shooter and I got turned around and couldn't tell where I was. And so I was getting like trapped in corners that I didn't expect there to be a corner there. Sure, that's happened before. I'd be like, what the F? Where the F am I? You son of a... just trying to find my way back to where I was. I think the Five Nights at Freddy movie was good for fans of the franchise. Sure, I'm not a fan of the franchise, though, so it didn't do much for me. Hi, video game lover. Favorite 90s horror movie? Right off the top of my head, I can't think of any horror movie that I just really, really loved in the 90s. Because everything tried to be, to use modern vernacular, meta. Everything was referential. Everything, started to become a horror comedy instead of just a straight horror. Everything was tongue-in-cheek in the 90s. And I just didn't even like the Final Destination movies. I didn't like those. I sure as hell didn't like the Scream films. I didn't like any of that stuff. I can't even remember now if Final Destination started at the end of the 90s or the beginning of the 2000s. That's how generic those were for me. Because all they were death scenes. That's all that movie is. That's all any of them are. Which game that you played had the worst soundtrack? Hyde lied. It has one musical track that loops the whole time you're playing, and that musical track is a ripoff of the Indiana Jones theme song. I recently started listening to Pearl Jam. Their music is pretty good. I didn't even care for them that much when they were new. Clearly, I remember picking on the boy. Seems a harmless little fur. But we unleashed a lion. How could I forget? And he hit me with a surprise lift. I bust wide open, just like the day. Oh, the day I heard Daddy never gave attention. I just never got into them, man. I'm sorry. They started out as like this, Seattle grunge scene thing, and then they just became the next Fish or, Grateful Dead band that all the stoners went to go see. I just never really got into them. Seventh, do you like Reba McEntire? Not especially. I mean, the only female country singer that I ever really got into or appreciate is Dolly Parton. Can't top Dolly Parton. Greatest of all time. Greatest of all time. Aside from that, whoever it was that sang Whiskey Lullaby, because I like that song. It's one of the saddest songs ever. Which action movie did you think had the most lousy fight scene? No Holds Barred. Oh, Lord, No Holds Barred. So terrible. If you and 8th could open a retro game store, what would it be called? Would you sell modern games as well? Of course I would. What would I call it? 7th Stuff. Something like that. Did you ever ride Horizons at Epcot? Yes, multiple times. Rode Horizons, Universe of Energy, the original Journey into Imagination, what Test Track used to be, the World of Motion. In fact, I have a bunch of those rides. I have a bunch of those Epcot rides on videotape. I do indeed. I'd share them, but Disney would copyright strike me for the ride music. Like the ride that Test Track replaced World of Motion. It's fun to be free, to be on the move, to go anywhere, to see all there is to be seen. It's fun to be free. You never forget that stuff. It's stuck in your head forever. But if I showed that video and played that music, Disney would copyright strike me for it. I already know, because when I made that video from Disney World that I made for Super Brothers several years ago, it got copyright struck because of the music for Splash Mountain. Because I showed the Splash Mountain ride in that video, and they copyright struck me for the music. Yep. Which park ride did you think was the scariest, most thrilling? At Disney? Probably the Tower of Terror. But, my favorite was always the Haunted Mansion. I love the Haunted Mansion. I ride it multiple times every time I go. Of course, I haven't been since almost 10 years. Since 2015 was the last time I went. It's just too expensive for a normal guy like me to go there anymore. It's for rich people only now. And yes, for whoever it was that asked me, video game lover, yes, I have gotten angry enough to break a controller. Maddest you ever got at a video game? I've broken controllers. I've slung games against the wall and shattered them like glass. I blew up a CRT once when I was 16. Did you like Snow White's Scary Adventures? It was okay. Scary for a little kid maybe, but it's better than what's there now, which the last time I was there, it was a princess meet and greet. They had completely taken the whole ride out, which was stupid. You destroyed a piece of history when you got rid of that ride. Same thing with replacing Mr. Toad's Wild Ride with that god-awful poo ride. That's another ride I have on that videotape, is Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I have it on tape too. Favorite Tomb Raider game? I don't know, man. I really liked the first two, but the controls have not aged well, and I don't like any of the new ones. How do you like your pasta made? I just, go to the restaurant and order it. I don't know. I'd like pasta Alfredo. I'd like some spaghetti. I'd like some spaghetti Hawaiian style with one great big, Hawaiian seasoned meatball right in the middle of the new, whatever. Otherwise, if it's just me, I open up the box of pasta. I shove it in there. I start to boil the water and wait for it to get loose enough on the bottom to where I can get the top of it down in there. I spin it around till it's nice and gooey, and then I take it out into a strainer. I strain it, then I pour ragu all over it, and I eat it. Have you ever tried to go on a ride that Eighth didn't want to go on, but you made him go anyway? Not a ride per se, but when he was, I don't know, 10, maybe 11, I can't remember exactly. I took him on a vacation to Gatlinburg, and he was just starting to get into horror movies, and I took him into the Ripley's Haunted experience. And it scared the crap out of him. He was kind of mad at me after that. It didn't last long, but, for a few minutes he was mad at me for taking him through there. 7th, I have your house hunting rant on an MP3 player, including talking about that crazy house with the 2 garage doors. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that rant well enough to want to save it and listen to it repeatedly. That's a first. New York style or Boston pizza? I have to admit, I've never actually had Boston style, the big, thick pie. I've had New York a lot, but I've never had Boston because nobody made, and I've never lived in an area where any restaurant made it. And of course, I've never been to Boston. I've never been farther north in this country than Louisville, Kentucky. That's as far north as I've ever been. Louisville. Home of the Louisville Slugger. That's as far as I've been. Notice I've got my black light on back there, but because there's still sunlight, you can't really tell. I haven't had, well, I think that's what I was thinking when he asked me about Boston. I think that's what I was thinking, Chicago style, the big, thick, pizza pie. That's what I was thinking. I don't even know what Boston style is. What was the crappiest place you went in? What kind of place? Crappiest restaurant, crappiest hotel, crappiest game store, crappiest theme park? What are you talking about, Dark Star? That's a little vague. 7th, were you big on collecting PlayStation demo discs during the Pizza Hut promotions? No. Didn't care about demos. Never played them. If it wasn't the full game, I didn't want it. And I think it was pirating games on PC back in the 90s that made it to where I didn't care about demos. Because, back in the 90s, they'd release like the first couple of levels of every game as free shareware for you to try, which is, the same thing as a demo. And, within a few minutes of the shareware version becoming available, one of the Wares sites that I went to, not Wares site, but one of the Wares BBSs that I went to would have, the cracked version of the game, and you'd download it, play it, which, I don't condone such things, but at the time I wasn't making enough money to be buying PC games like that. Thoughts on John Cena retiring from wrestling? Should have retired a long time ago. He's not as big as he used to be. He's been doing more acting than anything else. He's got a big bald spot on the back of his head. Crappiest place for a vacation. I don't know that I've ever had a crappy vacation. I don't think I have. I don't think I ever had a crappy vacation. Because we always tended to go somewhere that we knew we were going to like. My family would go to Gatlinburg, we'd go to Nashville for Opryland, we'd go to Disney World, we'd go to Panama City Beach. Those were our 4 places. And once I became an adult, most of my vacations were at Disney World. Took 2 in Gatlinburg. Took 1 in Myrtle Beach, which was also fun because Myrtle Beach is practically Gatlinburg on the beach. I just got here. Do you like Baldur's Gate 3? It's okay so far. Haven't played it enough to really form an opinion on it yet. Favorite Gene Hackman movie? I don't know, man. I'm not that big of a Gene Hackman guy, I liked Superman. The Birdcage was funny. French Connection is good. Who's your favorite wrestler? Bret the Hitman Hart. 7th, you've mentioned you and 8th having annoying incidents at movie theaters. Have you ever had any funny ones? Well, I think the annoying ones are the funny ones. Favorite sweet. Oh, I'm not very picky. My favorite sweet would probably be just a regular Hershey bar, chilled in the refrigerator so it's crispy. Thoughts on the Shining movie? I like the Shining movie. I like it a lot. I do wish it had a few more of the supernatural elements from the book in it, but I do really like it. Hi, Smithy, how's it going? If you could learn a different language, what would it be? Well, the most useful for me would probably be either Spanish, which I took it for 5 years from 8th grade to senior year in high school. Still can't speak it. Or French. Those would be the two most useful to me. As far as ones that I would most like to learn, probably Japanese and Gaelic. Yes, I heard about what happened to Trump today. Favorite Spider-Man game? The first one on PS4. Yes, I like Dr. Sleep. Dr. Sleep was good. Stranded J sent me a poster for Dr. Sleep. I just haven't hung it up on the wall anywhere in here yet. Have you seen The Chosen? Yes, I've seen The Chosen. Interesting show. I think they took a few too many liberties with it this season, though. Yeah, I realize you have to fictionalize a few things to fill in all the narrative gaps, but I think they took it a little too far with this 4th season by inventing a wife for Thomas who was, stabbed in the back at the hand of a Roman, and Jesus wouldn't heal her or resurrect her, and so that's the reason that Thomas is such a doubter of Jesus, was because he refused to bring his wife back from the dead. I mean, none of that's in the Bible. Complete fabrication that was made up for the show. Do you listen to any rap music from, I can't see because the heart's in the way, from any era? I listen to a little bit of everything, but I don't listen to most of the rap that's come out in the last 15 years or so. When Eminem was at his peak, as far as selling records, is pretty much when I got out of it. All these rappers that are walking around with tattoos all over their face, I don't listen to a single one of them because I think they all suck. Eighth likes a few of them. He likes like Post Malone and a couple other guys. I don't listen to any of it. Once Eminem hit his peak, that's pretty much where I stopped. How much longer do you see Xbox being around with how they are handling things right now? Oh, I think they'll be around for a while, just not necessarily in the form that they have been for the last several years. Who do you think's funnier, Will Smith or Chris Rock? Chris Rock. I don't think Will Smith's ever really been funny the way a comedian is funny. He's had some funny lines in movies, but I've never viewed him as a comedian. That's not no. No. Get my knife out of the way here. Let me get my knife out of the way here. I really want Warrior Season 4. What's the holdup? How you feel? I haven't watched any of the new seasons. I watched the first season, and that's pretty much where I ended it. And it's not that I didn't like it. For whatever reason, every time I sit down to watch it, I end up watching something else instead. I don't know why that is. That's just how things have turned out, I guess. Besides anything by Tommy Wiseau, what movie do you think had bad acting? Batman Forever. Batman Forever had horrible acting. The actress who played the Gossip Gertie or whatever, she was terrible. And the guy who played the security guard, oh Oh no! It's filling up with acid! Terrible. Terrible. As one of the worst performances I've ever seen in a film. And I realized that, Schumacher probably told him, have you ever watched the Adam West show? Yeah, do that. Which he shouldn't have done. But still, even when Adam West was at his corniest, his hammiest, you could never say that his acting was bad. This guy was bad. Thoughts on Sony leaning more into their legacy franchises late? Are they really? Are they really? Because all I see is them putting a bunch of their old stuff up on the digital platform to sell. That's all I see them doing. I don't see them really reviving anything. Where's Legacy of Dragoon 2? Where's Beyond the Beyond 2? Where's a modern Ape Escape with modern graphics and stuff? Where is all that? Nowhere, because they don't make it. Even Batman Forever was better than Batman and Robin, though. You know what, though? Eighth used to love Batman and Robin. He put it in his DVD player when he was like 5 years old, and he'd just play it on infinite loop. The minute it was over, it'd start right back up again, and he'd watch Batman and Robin in the background all day while he was working on other stuff. He just liked to have it on in the background to listen to. He wouldn't even look at the screen. He just listened to it while he was building stuff. What game do you think? Excuse me. What game do you think is really good but could have told a better story? Game that was really good but could have told a better story. I'm not really thinking of anything that matches that description. Usually, neither the game nor the story is good, It's very rare that I come across a game, I can't even think of one, where like the gameplay is just fire, but its story is awful. Or there's not enough of it there. I mean, a lot of NES games fit that description because most NES games didn't have a whole lot in the way of story to them. Craziest thing you did in a game. Can you really do crazy stuff in a game? Usually that's the only time you can do crazy stuff in a game is like online, like in Grand Theft Auto Online, GTA Online and stuff like that. And as you guys know, I don't do that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's a good example, 8th. Borderlands 3. Great gameplay, god-awful story, god-awful characters. Do you agree when people say that Shokio resembles Will Smith? Well, I haven't seen him in a long time, but he certainly did when he was a kid. Certainly did when he was a kid. Uh-oh. Hey, it's not working. Why ain't it working? Work. There we go. Two hours remaining. We have had 0 donations this evening. Thank you so much. 0 donations. No donations for 2 weeks. Nothing. Nada. Zip. Zero. Zilch. None. What's a guy got to do to get a donation? Fake cancer? Let's see. Do you think Sega should get back? No, because they couldn't do it. They don't have the infrastructure or the money for it anymore. It would fall flat on its face before it even got onto a shelf. You think Blackbuster looks like Dave Chappelle? I can kind of see that. Young Dave Chappelle. Not so much Dave Chappelle now, but when he was young, sure. Hi, Shadow Deist. Look, I don't know if, again, I will repeat this. I have no idea if Boogie faked his cancer or not. I don't know. I don't know him well enough to be in on all of that. You know, even if I was like a close friend of his, I doubt very seriously that he would show me proof one way or the other. He's certainly not going to show me just because I sit next to him at Retropalooza, you know, when I do happen to go there. Do you think Sony should buy Capcom? I don't know. I'm kind of getting disillusioned with the whole let's buy up studios. I just want the studios they already have to make stuff that I actually want to play. You know, I want a real Infamous 3. I wanted an Uncharted 4 that didn't suck. You know? I want Resistance to come back. I want Killzone to come back. You know, I want Sony firing on all cylinders like they were in the PS3 era. Instead of, you know, resting on their laurels like they are now. Nick, I'm not the right guy to ask about which era had the right... Uh-oh. Why did I not hear the announcement of that? I should have heard that. Well, anyway. Thank you, Darkstar. I did not see your question. Hang on just a second. Boogie getting more exposed than sunlight at noon. Possibly so, Darkstar. I know, you know, I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched some of it, and then, you know, my feed was flooded with all the commentary and drama channels and all the wannabe drama channels making videos about it. I will say this. I mean, the timing of it felt like a work to me. It felt like a work, and that's because earlier that day, Keemstar had streamed on the Lolcow Live channel talking about how, you know, there were so many people out there saying that the Lolcow Live show was a failure, that it was dead, that nobody was watching it, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly, you know, Boogie has this drama that drops on him out of nowhere in the middle of the show, and suddenly, you know, Boogie is the #1 trending topic on Twitter, and the viewership of the stream is blowing up. It just really seemed like a work to me. It really seemed like a work to me. Boogie is pulling a next-gen 720 by not showing receipts. You're not wrong. You should get Solid Rev on one of these. It'd be great. Solid Rev ain't going to come on here because there's not enough viewership. He ain't going to waste his time for a show that averages 35 viewers a night. Is it ever okay to e-bag? Well, some would say that I e-bag Alien Magi when I say, hey guys, anyone who does donate to me, that's going towards buying new shelves for the game room. You know, some would say that that's e-begging. I mean, I'll get those shelves either way eventually. It's just I'll get them faster with donations, was what I was saying. You know, I don't browbeat anyone for not donating. If you don't donate, you don't donate. But then again, I'm not trying to make a living off of this either. You know, I have a salary. Which game franchise do you think is the most overrated nowadays? Any of the live service games that are popular. Fortnite. I couldn't give less of a shit about Fortnite. Couldn't care less about it. Same with Call of Duty. Couldn't care less about it either. Were you ever in a band? Yes, I was in a band back in from 1996 up until the tail end of 1998 when I moved to Florida. So for about a little over 2 years. This season of what kind of blows? All about the car. Season of what? What's all about the car? Did I miss a line here somewhere? Did you ever play SimCity or Roller Coaster Tycoon or anything like that? I played SimCity on Super Nintendo, never got into it on PC. And I've played some of the theme park management games, sure. There's a difference between I appreciate the support and guys, if you don't give me money, they're going to take away my house. Absolutely true. You know, if nobody donates to me tonight, my house will be just fine. And I got news for you guys. My monthly mortgage is $700 a month higher than Boogie's is. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You were in a band the day I was born. That's crazy. Well, it's true, I guess. Fortnite is about the car? Okay. Yes, I've had chicken parm. Chicken parm is good depending on where you get it from or who cooks it. Boogie's house is all on one floor. Square footage wise, it's about the same as this house. He might have a few extra feet on me, but for the most part, it's the same size as this house. It's not his house isn't a mansion or anything, neither is mine. Mine doesn't even qualify as a McMansion, although it's the biggest house that I've ever lived in at 2,300 square feet. Thirsty. Boogie is falling hard. He'll probably go bankrupt. Well, he'll especially go bankrupt if everyone stops watching him because they think that he lied about having cancer. When you first started on YouTube, which YouTuber got exposed the worst? Probably Zephyrnix. He was always getting caught lying about something. Every time he turned around, he was getting exposed. Do you find 2D games superior to 3D games? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I like the 2D Ninja Gaiden games way better than the 3D ones. But that's just personal choice. It's not because of any, objective truth. There's a car on this season of Fortnite where you can have turrets on it and it's hard to counter. That's the oh. How do you not have time, by the way? I'm not sure if he was talking to you, 8th, or me. Because I also mentioned that I didn't have a whole lot of time. I work a lot, I tend to work a lot more than 8 hours in the course of a day. And then by the time I get done, I'm exhausted and I don't necessarily feel like playing. So I just end up laying there watching something until I fall asleep. What game did you not care to play, but only cared about the story? Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I thought the story to it was interesting, but there was just no gameplay there. I would have rather just watched like an animated movie of it than have to sit and, move around chasing little balls of light to piece it together. What was your favorite Star Wars game of the early 2000s? Star Wars Bounty Hunter Episode 3 or Star Wars Battlefront 2? I wasn't into any of those. But I think of all of those, the only one I spent any serious time playing was Episode 3. Eighth and Alien Magi arguing. Playing Fortnite as an adult is sus. Worrying about what other grown people do is sus. Being adult and saying the word sus is sus. Because it makes you sound like a toddler. It's just as bad as saying, I got the ick. How can you be so lazy that you can't add the additional syllables onto that word and say, that's suspicious? How much time is it saving you to say, that's sus? People that say, that's sus, sound like they're on the spectrum. Have you ever played Saga Frontier? Yes. Yes. I have played Saga Frontier. I have a copy of Saga Frontier, but for whatever reason, my Polymega does not want to install it. It crashes at 70%. So there might be something wrong with my disc, but I have played it. Seventh, do you have a favorite sports video game? What about Super Dodgeball is one of them. I also really like Baseball Stars on the NES, Baseball Stars 2 on the NES. I liked Joe Montana on the Genesis. I liked Tommy Lasorda Baseball on the Genesis. I liked World Series Baseball on the Genesis. And I really, really, really liked Lakers versus Celtics in the NBA playoffs for the Sega Genesis. Sports-wise, that's about it. Although I did really like, my favorite snowboarding game of all time was Steep Slope Sliders on the Sega Saturn. I liked it way better than Cool Borders. I liked it better than SSX. Don't ask me why, I just did. What's your best dish you've made? I don't know, grill a steak. I don't know. I'm not a chef, man. LOL is an abbreviation. Don't get butthurt, 8th. And it's also something that my generation, came up with well before you came along. Why don't you like the word toxic? Because I think it's overused. It's been turned into a catch-all. Not that I even brought that up today. You're just trying to stir up some crap. Magic powers. No, I haven't done that today. Not so far. Favorite Incredible Hulk movie? Probably the one with Ed Norton. Do you like any of the Madden games? Not especially. I mean, I liked the original one, the first one on Genesis. It was pretty good. And I liked how I think it was either Madden 92 or Madden 93, if one of your players got injured, an ambulance would drive out on the field and run over all the players trying to get to your one injured player. I thought that was hilarious. But other than that, Supreme Snowboarding was the best snowboarding game. Well, that's your opinion, and you're welcome to it. Thoughts on Simpson Hit and Run? It was Simpson GTA. Yay, I guess. Which YouTuber did you think was the funniest? I don't know. I've thought various different YouTubers were funny over the years. I thought El Presidor was funny. I thought AVGN was funny. I've thought the Nostalgia Critic was funny sometimes. It just depends. Ed Norton as Banner Hulk was underappreciated. It was underappreciated, but he didn't do himself any favors or make himself any friends at Marvel with the way things went down with that movie either. What kind of foods would give you magic power, Seven? I don't know. Seems to happen just at random, really. Thoughts on Richard Simmons' death? I don't have that many because I didn't even know it happened till, earlier during the 7thCast when somebody brought it up. Are you going to make a Boogie Splash video at the community pool? No, I'm not as fat as Boogie. I don't make a huge splash when I drop in the pool. What is an ideal breakfast for you in the morning? 2 eggs and 1 piece of toast. Got to have your protein, Gotta have that protein. Back during the BBS days and the IRC chat days, abbreviating words was a very common thing because you're running on very limited bandwidth, and in a lot of instances you had a character buffer that, a strong character limit to where you couldn't type out full paragraphs. You had, and so there was a lot of things that were abbreviated back then. Such as system operator was sysop. LOL was laugh out loud. ROFL was rolling on the floor. You had a whole bunch of those that came out back then because the limits of the technology required it. There's nothing limiting about our technology now that means you don't have the time to say or type the word suspicious. I'm just saying. General G was really funny, yes. I had a lot of fun talks with G back in the day. Are you a fan of My Hero Academia? No. No, I'm not. Alien Magi, I told you last time we were on stream together, I'm not falling for that crap. Do you think Mario is overused and should Nintendo take a change with new franchises? I think they ought to, if they're going to keep using Mario, they should come up with new franchises to put him in. Like, how about they just take some of their franchises that they haven't been doing anything with and just make them into Mario games? So at least we get something. like, Mario Wave Race or Mario F-Zero, I have not watched however you pronounce that. Have not watched that one. "200 characters is plenty without having to abbreviate the word suspicious, 8th. Well, no one was playing, Nintendo wasn't putting out badminton games, at least not here in the States they weren't. Anyway. So you kind of missed the point on that one, QB. Seventh, what do you think a Halo and Killzone crossover would have been like? I don't know, because it could never happen. Why does Mario have so many career changes? To keep him relevant. It's to keep him relevant. Seventh, I know you've seen Kenichi. Yes, we've seen Kenichi. Eighth really liked it when he was younger. He watched the whole thing with me many, many years ago when we were still living in North Carolina, and he really liked it back then. I don't know if he still likes it now, or when was the last time he even tried watching it, but yeah. I really like that one. I think it's good. I think it's good. Dun-dun-dun. What's a game you want remade or remastered? Legend of Dragoon. It's my go-to answer every time y'all ask me that question. It's going to be the same thing. Legend of Dragoon. That game should have been right up there alongside Final Fantasy, and it wasn't. That's a dang shame. It deserves its day in the sun, and by God, Sony should give it to it. Have you played Onimusha? I played 1 and 2. I never played past the second one. Legend of Dragoon. You're pushing your luck, Magi. If there's one thing I don't have, it's a restrained trigger finger on the band hammer. Watch yourself. Did you ever prank call or say stupid things on answering machines by yelling, "We're not home right now, send them in"? No. No. I only ever had one answering machine, and it was a digital one, and I left it turned off half the time because I really didn't want to hear from people, to be honest with you. I'm just not that kind of guy. I'm not that I'll get right back to you guy. I am at work on a professional level, but on a personal level, if I don't answer the phone, that's usually because I don't want to talk to you. I'm just saying. I screen all my calls. Calls get ignored constantly on this. It doesn't matter whether it's, spam or someone I actually know. If I don't feel like talking to you, I'm not going to answer it. And I'm not going to listen to your voicemail either. Did you ever do funny stuff as a kid in front of a camera? No, because we didn't own a home video camera until I was 17. Couldn't afford it. And the only reason my dad was able to afford the one that we did get when I was 17 was because it was like a big-ass, heavy VHS camcorder, and it was on clearance. And so he got it for like a couple of $100. Everything was going to like high 8 at that point. And so nobody was buying VHS camcorders anymore. And so it was dirt cheap, and he snatched it up. And it was a pretty plain Jane model, but, you know, I sure did love it. Every excuse I could get to film stuff with it, I did. But for whatever reason, when we all moved to Florida, because, you know, I moved to Jacksonville, they moved to Tampa, the camcorder did not make the transition. My dad must have sold it at a pawn shop or something, and just didn't even pack it. What do you think of Legend of Dragoon's combat system? Is it dated and too simple? Well, not any more than your typical turn-based RPG combat system. I mean, I'm sure that it could be, you know, tweaked to bring it up to modern standards without them resorting to doing what they've done with Final Fantasy VII and make it not even feel like the original game. Do you think the Hobbit trilogy was bad? No, I just don't like it as much as the original trilogy. Thoughts on Metroid Prime 4? Couldn't tell you much, haven't played it. Have you ever enjoyed a fitness game? No. Has anyone ever pulled a knife on you? Yes. A couple of times. I've never been stabbed, though. That tells you anything. Are there any oddball genre of video games you like point-and-click games or maybe multiple-choice games? There are some point-and-click adventure games I liked. I liked Day of the Tentacle okay. You know, I remember liking the King's Quest games and Monkey Island and that kind of stuff. Did you ever use self-defense? I've been in fights before, if that's what you mean. Favorite martial arts action movie? Enter the Dragon. Kind of hard to top Enter the Dragon. Favorite modern day platformers? I can't, if you're talking about, I mean, Mario Odyssey was good. Sonic is hit or miss. I really liked Astro's Playroom, so I hope the new Astro game is good. Other than that, there ain't much in the way of modern platformers. You know, Super Mario Wonder, I haven't gotten to play yet. Enemy, you can't use the F word in my chat. You'll get me demonetized, son. Won't even give me the option to get rid of your message. Eighth, are you still in the chat? Get rid of Enemy TV's comment about that's using the F word, please. For some reason, I'm trying to click into it and it won't let me do it. Thank you. I don't understand why it won't let me do it I don't know. Whatever. Did you ever play Astrobot in VR? No, but Eighth did. Eighth played it. He seemed to really like it. slow debate, slow day today in the 7thCast. Not a whole lot of conversation going on. Is everybody distracted by Trump being de-irrinated? Thoughts on Sony bringing old PS2 and PSP games to PS5? I'd rather just have good old-fashioned backwards compatibility, but that's just me. I can't believe they can demonetize because of a comment in the chat. Well, yeah, because if the advertisers on the videos can see that, then they can get offended by it and pull the advertising from YouTube. And so rather than deal with it, YouTube will just turn ads off for your video. So, please no F-bombs in my chat. What game did you ever farm a lot? Pretty much any JRPG. Do you think Sonic's popularity was at its peak in the 90s? Yes. Yes, I would really enjoy a backwards compatibility. Where I could just pop my PS1 or PS2 or PS3 games into my PS5 and just play them. I think you should be able to do that. Those emulators are out there. They work just fine. The PS5 could run them without any issue. So have you recovered most of your games from the great yard sale debacle? No. I mean, my collection is about the same size as it was then, but it's a bunch of different games now for the most part. I've recovered some, but not some of my rarer ones. Which emulator do you use the most? I don't use much in the way of emulators, aside from my Polymega. Polymega is the only real emulation that I do. Rename your live stream to Trump shot by Biden supporter, automatic 1,000 views. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't play those kind of games, Stevie boy. I do not play those kind of games. If I can't get an audience legit, I don't want an audience. And sure, I have a tiny audience on this show, but it's a tiny audience that I've had for years and years. So, I don't mind the size so much. Oh, I'm just a popping everywhere. Ever tried turning your video into an emulator? What? Oh, tried turning your PS Vita? Yes. Well, no, not Vita. I've done it with a PSP before. It was pretty on point. The PSP worked pretty good as an emulation handheld. Seventh, do you have any hope in that new Twisters movie? I want it to be good, but with none of the original actors in it, I don't know that it will be. I mean, the best actors, the best characters in it, the actors that played them are dead. Bill's character and Dusty, those were the two best characters in the movie. Both of those actors are dead, so I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to give it a try, though. I'll go see it. I'm here to stay away from politics, especially since I'm not even American. Yeah, I don't typically talk about politics either. I'm just saying that might be the reason why I'm not maintaining an audience tonight the size that I'm accustomed to is because, there's so much distraction going on tonight with everything that's going on in the news. What movie have you watched recently? I went to see LongLegs today. Me and 8th went to see it. LongLegs. How many games do you own now? I'm at 374, mostly PlayStation stuff. Let me look. Hold on a second. I will pull up my Game Eye. Da-da-da-da-da. You probably can't see it. I'm at 2,419 games. 2,419. How would you feel about meeting Tony Hawk? I mean, I guess it'd be all right, but I'm not, I'm not in some mad rush to meet Tony Hawk. What's your favorite Capcom game? Probably Mega Man 2. I really like the Breath of Fire series. That's another series I wish they'd bring back. They allowed it to die on PS2, and that was the end of it. It's a shame. I don't even have any Breath of Fire games right now. That's some of the stuff that I lost in the yard sale. I had all of the Super Nintendo Breath of Fires, and I had the ones on PS1, and I think I had at least one on PS2, and all of that was gone in the yard sale. Did you ever skateboard? Yes, when I was a teenager. I couldn't afford a Bones Brigade or Tony Hawk or any of that. I had a Nodus board. I don't know anyone remember Nodus Copus. I had that board. And even then it wasn't new. I bought it used off another guy who was upgrading to a nicer board. Did you ever get into the Tony Hawk games? Yeah, a little bit on Dreamcast. More for the soundtrack than anything else, really. The soundtrack was pretty epic. Oh, man. Man, oh man, oh man. You know what? This summer movie season sucks, man. Yeah, you got two big movies to look forward to, and that's Deadpool and Wolverine and Twisters. There's nothing else that's like big summer blockbuster stuff coming out this summer. This is like the driest one ever. I presume that's because of the Hollywood strike that put everybody behind, so there wasn't hardly anything to release this summer. I don't know. Seventh, have you ever met Mr. Rogers? If not, wouldn't have been an honor to meet him. I'm sure he'd like you exactly the way you are. No, I never met Mr. Rogers. I met Mr. Belding from Saved by the Bell, but I've never met Mr. Rogers. The memes on the Trump incident are already aplenty, and they are hilarious. I wouldn't know. I'm too busy talking to you guys. Trying in vain to keep you entertained. So that somebody will be motivated to, send $7 my way. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not any bigger. I ended up watching the fourth Bad Boys. I haven't even watched the third one. I never was a big fan of the Bad Boys movies. Deadpool and Wolverine versus 7th and 8th. We'd get our asses kicked. What do you think of Wolverine being brought back to life by Dead? I don't think he's being brought back to life. I think he's just a different Wolverine from a different universe. I think it's more that multiverse crap. That's why Ant-Man is dead. And then, they walk up upon a giant Ant-Man skeleton because it's all more of this multiverse crap. Not saying the movie won't be good, but I'm just saying, expect more multiverse crap. Yep. It's Mr. Stay Puffed. My buddy Brian, who is at home sick with COVID right now, bought me this Stay Puffed as a gift a while back. It used to be sealed and hung up on my wall, and then one of my bigger, heavier action figures fell off the wall and hit this one on the way down and knocked it right off its cardboard backer. So now he's just unboxed. Oh well. Seventh, do you have less hope in gaming after that one woman on social media complained that having kids is a disability when it comes to games that you can't pause in? Yeah, that was kind of a lame thing to say. I'm as a father myself, until a child reaches a certain given age, gaming is not really a hobby that you can indulge in while said child is awake. That's why, children before getting to a certain age have like a, 7 to 9 p.m. bedtime, because from 9 to midnight is parent time. And then you don't need a pause button. Yeah, I don't like the who would win in a fight questions. They're kind of lame. I watched Rebel Moon. I already watched Rebel Moon. I wasn't impressed. Did you like Zombieland 1 or 2 better? 1. Which Sesame Street character do you think relates to you the most? None of the Sesame Street characters. As far as Muppet Show characters, I'm probably a mixture of Beaker, Animal, and the Swedish Chef. I'm not a fan of FromSoft at all, 8th, and I don't really care. I was just commenting on the argument and saying I think it was a dumb argument she was making because somebody asked me about it. Had somebody not asked me about it, I wouldn't have even brought it up because that's how little I care. Weather questions? Nothing going on with the weather here today. Nice and sunny. Hurricane didn't even hit us. We didn't even get a single drop of rain from it. And by the time it got near us, it was a tropical storm, and it zipped on by like 7,500 miles to our east. Never even came over us. DLC was and has been a mistake the way it was handled. Is it a good idea to be able to extend the life of a game by adding new content to it? Sure. I mean, we used to just call those sequels, but, sure, why not? But when it becomes a way just to make a game be at a standard that it should have been when it was printed on the disc in the first place, that's when you have to just call BS. Do you think Texas is the state you are sticking with? Well, considering I bought a house here, but then again, I bought a house in North Carolina too, and look how that turned out. Although I don't think, I do not intend to leave this company to go work for a different company. I'm pretty happy where I'm at. Don't see a reason to ever have to go somewhere else. And I highly doubt that this company would ever ask me to relocate anywhere again, considering that I'm 100% work from home, so I can be anywhere. I can work in Texas, whether they have an office in Texas or not. There's several employees of ours that don't live within 100 miles of one of our locations. The company's pretty forward thinking that way. I proved that I can be productive without having to be in the office, and that I can be social and a team player without being in the office, and so they've allowed me to be 100% work from home. In fact, I've worked at home for so long now, I don't know how well I would function having to drive to an office every day now. Because, I don't have to drive, I don't have to spend 30 minutes driving to the office and then taking the time to set up once I get to the office, fixing my morning coffee, fixing my morning breakfast, blah, 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 sit down at my chair, read all my email, blah, 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 start to work. I don't have to worry about any of that because I work from home. I wake up, I flip open my laptop, I turn it on, I connect. 15 minutes before my start time, read through my mail, I'm ready to go. So I am automatically, just from that one thing alone, more productive than I was when I was working in an office. And I was already considered on the upper scale of productivity then. Now they really like me. Because I'm getting 2 to 3 times the amount of work done that some of the people that work in the office get done. I'm not bragging, that's just, it's the truth. When it comes to my productivity quotient, I'm a bit of a beast. I just get the stuff done. I don't take lunches. I don't take breaks. I start anywhere from a half hour to an hour early. I stay late. I don't take lunches. I don't take breaks. Once I sign in, unless I got to go to the bathroom, it's constant work from start to finish. And I just hammer it out. Bam, 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 bam. I get it done. I will have been with the company 12 years next month. 12-year anniversary. I can't show it because it's got my name on it. But, I've got this little award that I got for 10 years of service. This little plaque here has my name on it, but I can't show that now, of course. That one's for 10 years. I'll get another one at 15, probably get another one at 20. Is what it is. Is what it is. I intend to stay with that company until I retire or I'm dead. One of the two. Same here. Been working from home for a few years now. Couldn't imagine going back to it. Yeah. My job has been chaos since they fired the general manager. I've never seen a GM get fired at my job before. Guess the business was losing money day after day. Have you ever seen that? I've seen changes in management cause departments to fall apart. Yeah. I've seen it. It happens. Casual gamer, it depends on the type of games they play and how much they play, how much of an interest they have in it. Is it something they just do to kill time, or is it something they have an actual passion about, etc., etc.? The craziest police pullover that you've seen. I don't know, man. I think the craziest ones I've seen have been on YouTube, just like you guys. You know, when I was on ride-alongs with my dad, it wasn't, pulling over speeders and stuff like that. A different situation entirely. Totally different situation. Thoughts on the Roar TV series with Heath Ledger? I didn't watch it. I've heard things about it, but I never watched it. Wasn't my thing. Here's another award. This was a Atari cart that says, Retropalooza 5th year anniversary. Without your help, this wouldn't be possible. It says, thank you on the end. I don't even know what game is in it. I haven't tried plugging it into my Atari to see what cartridge might be in there. But they gave these out to everybody that helped set up the convention that time. So, neat little thing. I've got one of my desk knickknacks. Of course, I've got my other work-related award, which I also can't show you what's on it, but this is my GOAT award that they gave me for being the greatest of all time. This is my greatest of all time award, and it's a goat with sunglasses. So I think they paid like $100 to have that made for me. So far, I'm the only person in the company that's been awarded that award. Have you ever encountered stupid customers at work? Back when I was doing retail and stuff, sure. Like I had a guy that bought an extended warranty, and he thought the extended warranty meant that he could bring it back for a full refund for up to 2 years. And I'm going, no, extended warranty is a repair or replacement warranty. It's not a you can just decide to get your money back anytime over the course of 2 years, and no one here would have told you that. Look, it's even circled on your receipt what it does and doesn't cover. So whoever gave you this receipt circled it and told you to read that. But, I think he was wanting that money back to go score some stuff. No, I never watched Xena. Her little battle cry that, sounded like she was trying to sound like some kind of, African Amazon or something, just made it too campy and stupid for me, and so I never got into it. Never got into Hercules either. I know there was some crossover there. I didn't like it either. That dog. I don't know, man. I didn't really get into a lot of the shows that came out of like the 90s and the late 80s and the 90s. I just wasn't a big TV watcher. Like I watched a little bit of Briscoe County Jr. Not that it was on very long. I watched Star Trek: The Next Generation. I watched Batman the Animated Series, but mostly if I wasn't working and I wasn't playing with the band and I wasn't out with my girlfriend at the time or whatever, I was playing video games. I wasn't really watching a whole lot of TV. Dumbest student you ever encountered at school. I had a kid get in a fight with me because one of his friends carved his phone number into a cafeteria tray and then told him that I was doing it. And and after the fight was over, I had to sit with him and I was like, think about the logic. I'm the son of a police officer. Would I be carrying a knife around in my pocket at school that I could use to carve your phone number, which I don't know because you never gave it to me, into cafeteria trays? And he was like, oh yeah. Not one of Earth's brightest minds. Nope. Genius level intellect, he was not. Oh, brother. Y'all stopped asking questions again. Of course, there's only 16 of you in there. What a crappy Saturday this turned out to be. I tell you what. Richard hopped in and asked like one question, then disappeared. Seventh, which book and chapter from the Bible is the verse on your shirt from? It's not from any verse in the Bible. This is the prayer from the Boondock Saints. This is the prayer they say before they shoot people in the back of the head. Have you never seen the Boondock Saints, you know? They get the bad guy down on the ground. They stand behind him with guns pointed at the back of his head. And they say, and shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand, that our feet may swiftly carry out thy command. And we shall flow a river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be. And then, et Domini Patri, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. When did you enjoy music most in a game? Probably during the 8-bit era. I'm going to admit that short of a few games, during the 16-bit era, I spent a lot of time with the game music turned off and I was listening to punk rock coming out of my stereo. So I cranked the game down, cranked the punk rock up, and I'd sit and play, like Shining Force and stuff like that. But during the 8-bit era, I didn't do that. Oh, brother. Oh. Well, that one ain't going to work either, huh? What the... One hour left. There has been one $5 donation from Dark Star, Archangel, who rarely donates. That's been it. You've been the lone one, Dark Star. Game with the hardest bosses. What generation? That kind of depends on the generation you're talking about. For 8-bit, I'd definitely say Ninja Gaiden 3 would probably be the hardest bosses. The best success you had during school. I made the honor roll a couple of times. You know, I wasn't like a superstar at school. I had like a 3.7 grade point average. Hardest boss entering the PS2 era. Some of the additional bonus bosses in the Final Fantasy games could really be a treat. Some of the bosses in Devil May Cry 3, as I remember, my memory is vague on that one. I seem to recall thinking, "Wow, that's more than I was expecting to happen with that guy." Magic powers. 7th, any tips to learn how to be funny? Well, I'm not really funny, so that I'm not necessarily the best guy to give that advice. But if I was, I would say that's not something that you can like learn to be. You're either just naturally humorous or you ain't. I mean, if you're already a funny person, then you can craft that into a career and learn how to craft it into a career. But I think really at its root core, you're either a funny person or you're not. Best, worst Christmas and birthday presents you received. One time, my ex-wife, blew money on having a star named after me, which is a scam. And I'm like, how much money did you spend on this? Oh, $150. I was like, that's $150 worth of games you could have bought me. This isn't even real. 100 years from now, no one is going to point up and say, look, it's the 7th star. It's a scam. She got mad at me. You didn't appreciate my gift. She's like, what'd you get me? I got you my debit card that you spend money on every day. Oh, I'd love to get rid of all this weight. I'd love to be back down to about 175 pounds. I would adore it. I'd probably hurt a lot less than I do. Do you think this is the most epic fail gen in gaming? Not yet. Not yet, because, I mean, there was a point in the, Atari and Television Coleco years that, I enjoyed that time of that period because the market had crashed, so you could buy all the games for like $1 or $0.25 in some cases, like what I've described at Hills that one time. But the reason it got that way was because, one, there was very few exclusive titles for anything. A lot of the games that you could get on one console, you could get on the other. Heck, with Coleco, you could plug in an adapter and play 2600 cards on their hardware. And then, because there was no quality control, just anybody sitting in their basement with a computer could put out some crappy game, and you'd have no way of knowing whether it was any good or not because there was literally too many games being made for the still fledgling video games media out there to be able to put out a review to let you know if it was good or not. That was the generation. I already did that, Video Game Lover. I already did the 1 hour warning. Do you like Ape Escape? It's okay. Haha, El Cheapo 7th. Hey, I try to save $1 anywhere I can. I ain't gonna lie. Seventh, when 8th was a young pup, did you ever say... I said profanity around 8th all the time. But the thing of it is that, I explained to him, these are words that you're not old enough to use. And so even when he was a teenager, I was like, I will allow you to use the following curse words, but you cannot use these curse words, at least not around me. And I kept him to that until he turned 18. And then I was like, say whatever you want. You can ask him. I was like, you can say the S word, you can say hell, damn, you can say this, son of a, you can say this, but you can't say this word, this word, this word, this word. At least not around me, not in this house. Try to have some respect. Once you're 18, then you can use those words because you're an adult at that point. It's your own discretion. But while you're a kid, no. And I mean, at least while he was around me in the house, he followed that rule. Whether he followed it at school or not, I highly doubt it. But he at least respected me enough to follow it while he was home. True story. Some parents out there just let their kids be carefree. Well, I mean, there's some things that I think it's okay to let kids just kind of, find their own path with. But at the same time, they don't have any real world life experience at that age. And so they need somebody there to kind of, steer them clear of any potential situations that they don't have the wherewithal to get, to navigate on their own. I can almost promise you I didn't follow it. Oh, I knew you wouldn't. I knew you wouldn't. But you did follow it here at the house, or at that house, around me. And I remember the day you turned 18, at one point, you came walking in, and I had something on the screen. I don't remember what it was. And you walked up and you were like, "What the F?" And I just kind of looked up, nodded my head, and that was it. I remember that. I don't remember what it was on the TV. I think you realized you were 18, and so you're just using use any excuse you could find to use the F word in front of me. 7th, have you ever done bartending? No. I was never a bartender. Which movie had a better remake than the original and vice versa? Well, I think for the most part, most originals are better than the remake, but one exception to that would be The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing was way better than the original movie. Of course, 7th, I'll never forget that one 7thCast when 8th gave me the bird because I asked for it. Good times. I don't even remember that, but I'm sure it happened. I'm sure it happened. Was that when he was walking out the door or something? I don't remember. Remember when you worked in retail and some short guy tried to fight you? Worked in retail, some short guy tried to fight me. Trying to remember what instant you're talking about. That could have been a number of different things. I still remember that one April Fool's 7thCast. Which one? What was the prank that I pulled? I don't remember. What did Eric Flatness do? Am I even pronouncing that right? Odd Eric Flatness? I don't know. What is that? Is that Norwegian? Is that Norway? When you circled some... Donated 100 NOK. What is 100 NOK? I don't know what that is. Is that Norway money? Oh, yeah, that's Norwegian krone. That's a $10 donation. It's $10. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for the 10 US dollars. I appreciate you, sir. And your first super chat. That's the first super chat you've ever given on the show. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, sir. I'm glad you liked Trey for Life. I probably put more work into that than any other thing I ever did on this channel. Norway. I've always wanted to visit Norway. Go to Oslo. Hang out in Oslo. Maybe go see where the old Helvet record store used to be. The whole, maybe do a little tour of all the stuff that happened with that band Mayhem. I don't like that kind of music, but the story interested me. Norwegian black metal. I'm not a fan, but I did find the whole story of what happened with that band fascinating. I've watched all the documentaries on it and everything. That would be one thing I'd definitely do if I went to Norway. I'd also want to go to that. Norway has or at least it used to, had a retro gaming convention. I think it was called Retro Spillmusen or something like that. I'd like to go to that too, because you can get like Sega Master System games there for dirt cheap because they were a lot more common than they were in the U.S. And they also had more games released than they did in the U.S. Do you have nice neighbors? They're okay, I guess. I haven't had any bad interactions with them since moving in. Haven't had any bad interactions at all. I told you I do not discuss what Solid Rev does for a living. Period. You're not going to get any confirmations or denials out of me, one way or the other, on what Solid Rev does or used to do. A seventh, if Fat Gamer was your neighbor, would you move? No, but I'd probably put up a real tall fence. He's on out there. Yeah, we have a neighbor. They don't own the house next to us. They're renting it. And one of them has this Frankenstein monster of a car that, like, part of it is a Dodge Charger, part of it is a Chrysler 300. It's got big holes in its hood, and it has absolutely no muffler. So every morning at around 8:30, he cranks that thing up, and if you weren't already awake, he will make sure you are awake because you hear it all over the neighborhood. And then he sits and lets it warm up for like 15 minutes before going wherever it is that he's going every morning. I remember that 7thCast. You pretended there were gunshots going on outside of your house. You got a lot of people, but not me. I knew what day it was. Ah, okay. Which Zelda game was more revolutionary? Legend of Zelda NES or A Link to the Past? I would say the first one, because the second one, for the most part, was just the first one with better graphics. It was the same general kind of gameplay. I mean, it was a bigger map and everything, and you had there was more in the way of like how the puzzles worked and everything, but it was still just a natural evolution of the first game. And the first game to me was the one that broke more ground. And yes, there were gunshots a few times out there. But not on the particular instance that they're talking about. Seventh, if Blackie, Lebowski, and Hooge were your neighbors, would you call the police? I would. Well, I mean, if they did anything that they shouldn't be doing, sure, why not? If you're breaking the law, then you're going to get a call from the cop. You're going to get a call to the cops from me. Ultra Steel, we have a Link Between Worlds. I just don't really play on 3DS that much. 8th has played it, though. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to send Odd Eric a dollar bill. Hold on a second. Well, crap. It ain't working. There you go. There's your dollar bill. Dollar bill for Eric. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Thoughts on Boogie? Well, Chris, I don't really know for sure that that's what occurred. I mean, it certainly seems that way, but I don't know. I'm not as much in on the loop with things when it comes to Boogie because my interactions with him are limited to Retropalooza. So, normally I would see him twice a year and that's that. But I haven't had the money to go to Retropalooza this year because of having to buy this house. So, no Retropalooza this year has meant no hanging out with Boogie this year. Yeah, Fat Gamer, man. He's... Yeah. Yeah, that about says it all, really, don't it? Ugh, that about says it all. I might be thirsty. Ugh. I might just be thirsty. Well, I mentioned what went on with Fat Gamer a while back, closer to when that actually occurred. And Super Brothers didn't know anything about it, and he asked me what I was talking about, and I had to send him a link to the video. And he was like super weirded out about it. Seventh, I hope to work soon, and I gotta ask, how can I tell if I'm being entitled with a job or if my employer's company are actually taking advantage of me? Right now, I'm just looking for work experience. That's something that's just, you kind of have to pick it and play it by ear from job to job. It's not going to be the same thing with every employer. There's different tells for that kind of thing, and you just have to get to know what the tells are with your current supervisor, boss, whatever. There's not one set universal way to tell whether you're being taken advantage of, taken for granted, being used. You just you kind of have to learn who you're working for and feel them out. Observe them, watch how they operate, Yeah, I haven't really been that deep into the crumb side loop of things for a long time either. Many, many years. I couldn't tell you the slightest thing about what Hard 8 is up to these days. Couldn't tell you. What's a fat gamer? That's just a guy that used to be. He used to be the co-host with Super Brothers. They used to do a show together called Best of Both Worlds, and he was a autistic, by his own admission, autistic black guy. Made all of his videos out of his basement, and he was missing all of his front teeth. And he would say some crazy stuff. He would say some really crazy stuff. We got 37 minutes left, guys. 37 minutes left, so you want to get your questions in. You will want to get your questions in. But yeah, I haven't kept up with a lot of the crumb side guys. Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I watched Weapon Wheel all the way through. Every now and again I might watch one of Black Bond's videos, though he doesn't really put out that many videos these days. Black Baron seems to have kind of fallen off the face of the earth. Yeah, I don't know. Gamer Nate, Hebot, all those guys. I don't know. I don't know. No, I was never interested in Yu-Gi-Oh! I was already an adult when Yu-Gi-Oh! Hit. I think Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker. Not so good at being a Spider-Man, but he was a good Peter Parker. Other way around with Andrew Garfield. He was a good Spider-Man, crappy Peter Parker. Tom Holland seems to be pretty good at both. I was on Weapon Wheel that one time, and they never invited me back. And I didn't really even get all that argumentative with any of them. Of course, I was a lot more popular back then, too. I don't have the audience that I had back then. They did have problems, though, because my microphone wasn't working right, and so my audio was crap. That might be why they never invited me back. I don't know, but it was probably because of the fact that my audience kind of withered away to nothing, so they probably felt I didn't bring anything to the plate. Seventh, if they made a God of War movie, how would you like the narrative of it to be? Like a hard R rated Clash of the Titans. That's what would work for me. If you're wondering why I'm sitting here going in circles like this, it's because I'm in a little bit of pain right now. And this is something that I start to do this without thinking about it, because instead of getting rid of the pain, it kind of shifts the pain around so it's not focused on one spot. So it makes it bearable. I mean, it's not because of the chair. This chair is way more comfortable than the other chair that I was sitting in a while back. It's just a condition that I have, and this kind of helps me cope with it when I'm having to sit in the same place for long periods of time. I thought it was because you had too much knowledge. I kind of doubt that. Have I seen the Underworld movies? Yeah, I've seen them. Not that big of a fan. I thought they were kind of boring. Seventh, did you ever watch Shark Week back in the late 80s? I watched Shark Week when Eighth was little because he was fascinated with it, but that was about it. Looks like you're about to receive a fatality. Yeah. What's the worst injury you've ever had? Car wreck, 1995. Ford F-150 hit me head on. And I was in a 1995 Ford Probe. And Ford Probe acted like a launching ramp, sent the truck flying in the air over me. Did all sorts of damage to me. I had to be in physical therapy for a while. Never really got full range of control out of my left arm back. Still have problems there. Aside from Baldur's Gate 3, you playing anything else currently? I've been playing the remake of System Shock. I can't remember what level I'm on. Seventh, do you like the movie Van Helsing? And what kind of film genre does it fall under? Dark fantasy? Fantasy adventure comedy? Yeah, I like it. I think it went a little bit too comedy and a little bit too cheesy. But overall, I really liked what they tried to do with it. Back down to 16 viewers. We have 30 minutes left, folks. 30 minutes left. How does the barbecue smell in Texas? I'm high and hungry. Barbecue smells good. It smells good. I don't trust Amazon Prime to pull off a good God of War show. I don't either. I've seen Rings of Power. I know how much Amazon Prime originals could suck. Who's worse, Pyro or Blackberry? Oh, Pyro. Pyro by far. Pyro by far. I know that, Ultra Steel. Stephen Summers was also the guy that did that movie Deep Rising with Treat Williams. Seventh, how's your friend Jeff been? I have no idea. I haven't heard from him since 2023. Don't know what he's up to. Don't know what he's doing. Doesn't answer my messages. Doesn't answer my calls. No idea. Does a show need to follow source material to be good? No, but it needs to at least follow the framework. I mean, Rings of Power, it has bits and pieces of actual lore, but most of it is, contradicting to the rest of what Tolkien did lay down. I mean, it's really out there with a lot of it. I hadn't heard anything about PS5 being the worst selling console. The narrative coming out of the Xbox community is they don't understand why it's selling as well as it is since it doesn't have any new games coming out for it. I think the last time I heard anything about it, it was at 60 million or something. I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention this generation. I haven't really been paying that much attention to all that. Seventh, I think a good example of a product not fully following the source material and still ending up being good was Jaws. Yeah, it's a good movie. I've never read the book, so I can't speak too much on that. I do know a lot of what made Jaws good was out of necessity for so much of what was originally planned not working. Is PSVR 2 a failure? Pretty much, yeah, and it's a failure because they allowed it to be. They didn't push it the way they should have, which was no surprise since they didn't push the PSVR 1 that much either. Remember the PS1 with the mini screen? Well, the mini screen was a separate thing, and I mean, you bought the screen separately. I have a PS1, but it don't have a screen on it. You have to buy that and add it to it. Plugs into it, don't you know? Do 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 do. Dumbest product you think was invented and advertised? That's a very broad question. It's a very broad question. I mean, just about any of the as seen on TV stuff would fit that bill. I don't think I could, like, you know, hammer down one in particular thing. Like, this was the dumbest thing I ever saw advertised on TV at 4 in the morning. Maybe I remember there used to be an info commercial that come on like 3 in the morning for a compilation of punk rock. And so much of it was like totally not punk rock. And the very idea of, calling into an 800 number to order a punk rock compilation that's being advertised in a commercial on MTV at 3 in the morning was so opposite of what punk rock was supposed to be that was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. There's been multiple times where I've bought a game from GameStop and then got home and the disc wasn't in it, or the disc had a bad scratch on it, that kind of thing. One time I grabbed the last copy of the game that they had off the shelf, and I walked it over to them, and instead of just putting the disc in it, they still gave me a GameStop box that didn't have the original cover. And that time, I didn't go back there for a long time. I called them and chewed them out about it, and I didn't go back to GameStop for a good while. Thoughts on Jack Black movies? I have not been a huge Jack Black movie fan. I like Pick of Destiny, but School of Rock, didn't care. Nacho Libre, didn't care. Gulliver's Travels, didn't care. Probably the only one that he's made that besides I keep saying Spear of Destiny, Pick of Destiny, would be Shallow Hal. I kind of liked Shallow Hal. But I don't think that's so much because of Jack Black being in it as much as it was a Farrelly Brothers movie. My neck be a poppin', y'all. My neck be a poppin'. I didn't even know I had this, and it's just sitting here on my desk. Look. It's an itty-bitty Megatron. I didn't even know I had this. It's just kind of sitting over here. Must have just been something that was in one of the boxes. Oh, I've got another one here, too. Which one is this one? Is it Soundwave? I think it's Soundwave. Can't tell. Yeah, that's Soundwave. I didn't even know I had these. I know you like Sandler films. Did you ever see Uncut Gems, or is that one too... I don't like his serious work. You know, I didn't like Punch Drunk Love. I knew I wasn't going... I didn't like that one where he's like a baseball or a basketball scout. I didn't like that one. And so I knew I wasn't going to like Uncut Gems. Because on top of that, you know, it's a jewel heist crime and all that kind. I don't care. I don't care about that kind of movie. Those kind of movies don't interest me at all. You know, and especially heist movies like The Italian Job and Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12. I don't even like the ones with magic in them. The Now You See Me or whatever. I don't even like those. I like Sandler's comedy movies, but his serious stuff, his serious stuff does nothing for me at all. A movie you visited that disappointed you. Is it possible to visit a movie? I don't know. I've been disappointed by a lot of movies. I don't know if I've ever been disappointed visiting a movie. I think one of the ones that was the biggest disappointment for me was when I went to see Ghosts of Mars at the theater, because, you know, it was a John Carpenter movie, but it was crap. I mean, for one thing, it was just a sci-fi retooling of Assault on Precinct 13, which he had already done years and years before. But secondly, it just wasn't good. It was a terrible movie. Did I like Click? I liked some of Click. At the end of it, it just got too dark and depressing for me. And I got to thinking, you know, this is just kind of like, in a way, this is kind of like A Christmas Carol, but I just don't really like it. Did you watch the Who Killed WCW? Yeah, I watched it. Do you like the Iron Giant? Yes, and in fact, I was one of the few people, apparently, that actually went to see it at the theater when it came out. Have you ever read A Pilgrim's Progress? A long time ago. Long time ago. There is a CG animated interpretation of that story, but the animation is really, really poor. It's not done very well. Oh. Used to be free on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it still is, but, you know. Would you agree that Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd made the Back to the Future movies popular good? Well, they certainly were a big part of it, but I think Back to the Future was really a sum of its parts situation. You know, it had all the right actors. It had the perfect script. Fantastic movie, fantastic production design, great director. You know, there wasn't really any shortcomings to that film. Why do you think the Hobbit trilogy failed somewhat? I don't think it failed. I just didn't like it as well as the original trilogy, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Why do you think that Pyro is worse than Baron? Because you could have a regular conversation with Baron. You couldn't have a regular conversation with Pyro. I don't know who did it, Ultra Steel. I just know it's on Amazon Prime. Yes, I saw LongLegs at the theater. I already talked about it in the first hour of the show. Have you heard about this LongLegs movie? LongLegs is in the literal title of the stream tonight. Thoughts on the Dead Rising remake? I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. How do conversations with Pyro go? Not in any way that you would want them to go. Not in any way that you'd want them to go. Pyro is, well, I've been harping on about that for years now. No point in repeating myself again. I am burnt out on zombies. That's why I said, we'll see, but I was already kind of burnt out on zombies when the original Dead Rising came out. I'm not that big on that series. So wanting to play a remake of it when it was already re-released on PS4 last gen. Not that excited about it. Was it scary or were people... Well, the movie's good, but I wouldn't say it's scary. I wouldn't even say it's creepy. It's interesting. It's the best I could say about it. It's interesting. Keeps your interest, but it's not scary. And even the one jump scare that they had in it is so telegraphed that you know it's going to happen. Ever play Destroy All Humans? I played 1 and 2. I don't think I ever played the third. No, I did play the third one, didn't I? I reviewed one of them, but I don't know if it was the third one or the fourth one or a remake of it. I don't remember, but I remember playing the first 2, definitely. What TV show made you quit after just a few episodes? MTV tried to adapt the Shannara fantasy book series. I watched 1 episode of that and never watched the rest of it. Ultra Steel, you don't have to announce in advance that you're going to DM me, son. Did you like Destroy All Humans? No, I didn't really get into the game loop of it. I thought it was funny, but I didn't care for the gameplay that much. Thoughts on The Sixth Sense? I figured out the twist very early in the film. And I wasn't thinking about it. I was on a date at the time, and I kind of blurted it out in the theater, and everyone got mad at me and threw popcorn. And some of the popcorn got in my date's hair, so then she got mad at me, and it was a bit of a mess. Seventh, if X-Play returned again and offered you... No. There's no point in X-Play. That's one of the reasons why it failed. It was superfluous. It was not needed anymore. It was replaced by social media. There was nothing that they could do that, hundreds of thousands of people aren't out there doing just as good or better now. That's one of the many reasons why it failed. Seventh, I don't know why, but apparently some people get offended if you refer to them as sir or ma'am. Do you get offended when people refer to you by sir? No. I mean, it makes me feel old, but I don't get offended by it. When you spoil the sixth sense, do you get kicked out? No, they just yelled at me and threw popcorn at me. Did you ever annoy someone just by repeating the same thing over and over again? Or saying something random like, do you have a rumbly in your tumbly? Yeah. I've done that before. Annoyed somebody just by, repeating the same thing over and over again. My favorite one was the one that I did with my ex-wife. Because, she used to do this whole thing about, and a lot of married women do this. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? I'm watching a TV show. I'm not thinking about anything. Got my feet propped up. I got a drink in my hand. I'm watching a movie. What are you thinking about? So I started trying to get back at her at it. So we'd be sitting there, and I'd say, "What's the matter?" And she'd say, "Nothing." And I'd say, "Something's the matter." She'd say, "No, I'm fine." And I'd say, "What's the matter?" I'd do this for an hour and a half until finally she'd just get up and walk out of the room. This was several years into the marriage when things were already, escalating because of the mental problems that she was having. And so, I didn't handle things as best as I could have, but, I wasn't adding on to any, I wasn't instigating anything. Things were already bad. And at that point, I was just doing things to keep myself sane more than anything else. She was a piece of work. You have a habit of getting into shenanigans at the theater. It has happened quite a few times, yes. Did you ever watch Code Monkeys? I never really got into that show. I tried to watch it. I just didn't like it. No, Shadow Deist. I don't think I would have wanted to work at G4 or X-Play at any point. The other thing that I would do to annoy my ex, and I think I've said this before, I have really, or at least I used to, really good peripheral vision. So, I can see my finger here while I'm looking at you guys. Right up until, okay, now I can't see it. But right here, I can see it. So I have really good peripheral vision. And so I could tell I'd be driving somewhere and my ex would be sitting in the seat next to me. And I could tell without looking at her that she had turned her head and was looking at me. And I'd stick my tongue out at her. And it would piss her off. She'd go, "How do you know? How do you know?" She'd get mad. And so if we were on a road trip, like driving to Tennessee from Florida or something, so it's 8.5 hour drive. Just imagine how many opportunities I'd have that every time she'd look at me. Do you consider yourself a manipulative person? No. No. Not really. Troll, yes, but a user or a manipulator, no, not really. What's a funny prank you wanted to do but did not do it? Like yelling into the intercom, annoying the whole school, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to do the whole firecrackers down the school toilet thing, but I never actually got around to doing that one. Never really got around to doing that one. Wanted to, but I thought better of that one. I'm not really the person to ask that question, Shadow Deist. Not really my question to answer there, because obviously I have a bias. Okay, we're down to the last 7 minutes, folks. 7 minutes. 7 minutes left. There has been $15 in donations. $15. Do 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 do. A boo 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 ba boo. Asia says El Presidor is better. Okay. Do 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 do. I popped my neck there. I'm having some neck problems tonight, folks. Neck problemos. Wonder what I'll do tomorrow. I don't know. Your worst customer service experience besides moving services. One time I took 8th to Disney World, and we got to the hotel, went to pick up our tickets, and they had booked me the wrong kind of tickets, so we didn't have the park hopper functionality where we could go from whatever park we wanted to whatever park we wanted. They'd given me the wrong kind of ticket where, once I walked into a park, that was the only park I could go to that day. And I wasted 90 minutes of our vacation time there arguing with them about giving me the right tickets. And so 8th spent the first hour and a half of his Disney vacation just sitting there waiting for me to get done talking to this lady at the front desk. And I felt so bad. I felt so bad. Yeah, well, everyone thought El Presidor worked at Walmart because he made so many videos walking around in Walmart. 8 says, you're better at debating, and that is a form of trolling if they have thin skin. Well, yeah, I don't think El Presidor could have done to the truth setting you free what I did, but again, I'm biased, so I'm not the right person to ask. Seventh, are you the kind of person to be honest and brutal rather than sugar? Yes. Stop the damn ride. Remember that? Well, that's what my dad was saying to the person that wouldn't shut down the teacup ride until he elbowed the glass and smashed the booth glass and got the lady's attention so she shut the ride off. I was 7 years old, I think. I'll never forget it. Who was more knowledgeable on gaming, 7th or Blackbuster Critic? Ooh. Well, here's the thing. Blackbuster was really knowledgeable about a lot of things because he read. He read a lot of the websites. He watched a lot of the documentaries and whatnot. He didn't have as much lived experience as me. Because I'm older. I'd lived through more of the generations than he had. Do you ever wonder what the people in your chat are doing during the week when not here at the 7thCast? I sometimes think that a lot of you are sitting on the couch writing out your lipstick kill lists But I can't prove any of it, of course. Your dad knows how to rip and tear. Well, my dad knew how to rip and tear. Well, the kid had his head caught in the ride, and he's banging on the window of the control booth, and she's talking to somebody on the phone, not paying attention to nothing. And so he takes his elbow and smashes the glass, grabs her by the shoulder and says, "There's a kid with his head stuck under the ride." And so then she shut it down, and then him and my uncle walked over and broke the ride, ripping it up off the frame so they could get the kid out from under it. I was about 7 years old. Late for class. Bye, Clean Frame. 2-minute warning, folks. 2-minute warning. Who was better on gaming knowledge? You or reviewed? Oh, oh, brother. Yeah, I think I got Review Tech beat on that one, son. My dad was something else. My dad was something else. 2-minute warning. Oh, geez. Oh, geez, what? I prefer DBTS by 7. Well, the last couple of ones of those that I did, Dark Star, people didn't seem to react to them too much. What is Aegis Chaos OGsing about? What's an old game that you wanted to do a DBTS episode for? An old game? Probably Irritating Stick. That game is terrible. Probably the worst game of that, one of the worst games of that generation by far. Of course, it was meant to be, but it was meant to be irritating. It's in the name. Can I extend the 7thCast to an hour for $20? It usually takes more than that, Clean Frame. Plus, you remember, guys, I kind of stopped doing that. That's why, because of my health. So, it'd take quite a bit more than $20 to get me to stay another hour. And why would you want to? I mean, we never even made it up to 30 viewers like we normally would. The questions have been a little bit dry tonight. So I feel that this hasn't been as entertaining of a show as it normally would be. What would I debate Review Tech USA about? What would I debate him about? There's nothing to debate him over. There's nothing to debate him over. Anyway, it's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock, and it's that time of night where we have to part ways, and you got to go figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your weekend. That's not my problem, guys. That's not my problem. That's on y'all. That's not on me. But I will be back next week, so long, barring any kind of disaster, of course, to hopefully I'll have not be missing half of my audience next week, and we can have more varied and entertaining questions to answer. Same 7th